My name is Luci and I am a brand strategist and designer behind the studio Hello Luci, and today I am going to be talking about six important boundaries to set as a business owner. So let's just get into it. This could be any business, but especially in relation to being a design business owner or a creative business owner. Number one, saying yes to too many projects. Definitely set the boundary and decide how many projects that you have the capacity to take on. When I first started working, as I said before, I just got so excited that people wanted to work with me and, give me a chance to do their work, that I would say yes to everything. It was partially in part because my prices were too low, but also I just felt like I had to say yes to every project or else I would be disappointing them. I wasn't really sleeping. I wasn't really taking time for myself just because I had so many things on my plate, to the point where I actually got really, really sick. It took me getting physically ill to be like, okay, I think I need to rethink how I'm structuring my projects and my business. But before you get to that point, it's okay to say no. Definitely take a look at your schedule, take a look at your capacity, figure out how long it takes you to do your projects or whatever services you're offering, and then map out how many projects you can take on at a time. Next, which I sort of just mentioned briefly, I feel like it's adjacent to saying yes to too many projects and just having too many projects on your plate. Also saying yes to everything. This also comes into figuring out your niche or just what you like working on or what kind of projects you want to work on. Again, at first I would say yes to even every type of project or every industry. And I do think it's totally okay to say yes and explore and see what you're interested in, because if you don't work on a project, then you don't know what you like. But at some point, it's totally okay to say, hey, I'm really just interested in working with service-based business owners, or I really just want to work with dentists. So at some point, just not carrying the guilt of saying no. That is just such a boundary that I have to keep emphasizing. If you do keep saying yes to every project, big or small, any industry, then when you do start deciding what interests you, then you won't actually have a focused enough portfolio to bring those sorts of clients and businesses to you. I feel like what I just said was kind of conflicting, but I would say at first, it's totally okay to just say yes and experiment and see what you like doing. But at a certain point, start being more selective about the work you're taking, the type of work you're taking, and who you're working with. That way your portfolio evolves into exactly who you want to work with. Then it is totally okay to tell someone, hey, thanks so much for reaching out, but actually I'm only working with this type of business, or actually I only do full branding and website. I don't just do websites. Or actually, I don't design in Wix. I actually just design in this. It's totally okay as you're going on to stop saying yes to everything. Number three, avoiding scope creep. Scope creep is when your project starts going beyond the work that you agreed to. This could be maybe your contract says you only do 2 revisions, but you're starting to do 3 or 4 or 5 revisions and you're still including that in your price. Or maybe you agreed to a specific set of deliverables, but then your client also is like, hey, can you also design this for me? And then you say yes and do it. Scope creep is basically just anything that is extra work outside of what you agreed on. And that is also a very important boundary to keep and set. It's totally okay to refer back to your contract and say, hey, I'd love to help you. We did agree on 2 revisions based on our contract. If you would like for me to do additional revisions, that would be an additional fee. Like just feeling comfortable and confident in what you agreed upon without like feeling bad about it. That is such a strong boundary, such a good boundary to have, because the more you allow scope creep to happen, you'll probably just feel really bad about it behind the scenes, and your client won't even know that you're feeling bad about doing extra work. So it's just okay to say, just stick to your contract. And with that, also making sure you have all of these details in your contract. That way it is very clear what your client is expecting out of your time together. Another very important boundary is a really tough one to stick to: avoiding extra extended timelines. In my contracts, at this point, I also set very specific timelines for when a project starts and when a project is going to end. And then if it extends over a certain amount of time, then I charge a fee, a rescheduling fee, or just an additional time fee. But this was also something that was really hard for me to get into the practice of. When I first started my business, I did not have strong boundaries around how long a project would take. And then my clients started dictating how long a project was going to take. So I would just vaguely be like, hey, can you take a look at this and just, give me your feedback, but no due dates, no nothing. Or, just let me know when you're done looking at it. Like, that was basically how I handled all of my projects. And then I would get frustrated behind the scenes because my projects would drag on forever. I wouldn't hear back from my clients, or it would be really hard for me to get feedback, again, because I was letting them drive the project and drive the process, even though they came to me to drive the project and the process. So now, upfront, this is the expected timeline. I give clients very specific due dates. I let them know what to expect, when, and how to give it to me, and that has greatly improved my project timeline process. But it's usually either a mutual agreement or the client lets me know when they need additional time. And that just feels better, because even then it's like, okay, like, let's take a look at the calendar. It looks like, this was due on Friday, but you need some additional time. So how about we, push it back to like Wednesday? So even just having the expectation of knowing what the timeline's going to be, even if it is moved a little bit, has helped. But again, if the delays do get past a certain point where it's running into something else, I definitely do have my rescheduling fee and my additional fees. It's in my contract now. Again, put these things in your contract. So even if you do feel like nervous to mention these things, you can just be like, hey, actually, it's in my contract. So having a strong contract has been really helpful for me as a person who has a hard time saying no and just putting boundaries in place. The next boundary that is also something that I had to work on was being firm on your pricing, or not negotiating your prices. I'm not sure if this happened to you as well, but when I was starting out, I was just so eager to get work that I definitely was not confident in my pricing. I felt confident in my ability, but I was always afraid that people were going to say no because of what I charge. And I just wanted work so badly that I would say yes, even if they negotiated it down. For example, I was charging like $500 for my websites at first. Yes, $500. And then I would give that price to my client, and then they would be like, how about 300? Or how about 150? And that was something that I really had to get over. It was definitely more of a self-confidence thing, and staying firm in my prices and knowing that the people who really want to work with me and value my work will pay exactly what my prices are. So it took a really long time to get to this point where I do feel confident in my pricing. But to share that, I just wanted to share that to say that sticking to your prices is a very important boundary to have, even just for yourself. You know what your value is, and so it is okay. If somebody says that they can't afford you, then, that's okay. You can say, I'm happy to refer you to someone else, or, I'm happy to work out a payment plan with you, but don't take the full value of what you're offering and then just bring down your price. Do not do that. I'm talking to you right now. Do not do that. I'm happy to do a whole video on pricing and how to price yourself and just feeling more confident with pricing, because this is just a big hurdle that I have had to overcome myself. But that is a very big boundary, is staying firm with your pricing. And it goes back to, it's okay to say no if something is not the right fit. The last boundary that I want to talk about is just the boundary of having work and rest balance. Giving yourself time to do your projects, giving yourself time to work on, business things to help your business grow, and then also giving yourself time to rest. This is a boundary that I am still working on, but I specifically wanted to talk about not always being available for your clients all the time. Setting office hours for when you can talk to your clients is very important. Also, not giving out your phone number, and just really setting the boundaries of when and how your clients can communicate with you is really helpful. Otherwise, you'll get a text message in the middle of the night, just with somebody asking about your project. Setting the boundary of when you're working and how your clients can communicate with you is very important, and it'll also just bring you peace, and it'll also bring structure to your projects and to your clients. But also with that, also setting aside some time to actually work on your business too. So not just days for your client work or days to talk with clients, but also days to do your website, days to work on your blog posts, your social media, your YouTube, anything else that relates to your business, like your money, your financial days where you're looking at your numbers. Just setting those times aside, times to work on your projects and times to work on your business are really helpful, or else you'll also just find yourself just in the wheel of working on projects, and then months will go by and you realize you don't have any project leads, and that's because you've just been so into your work that you haven't actually done anything else. Just setting aside time to rest. I get very excited about work and business and design, and it's so fun that sometimes that's all I do. I don't take time to read, even though I love reading. I don't take time to do other things that I love doing. But I've also found that by having boundaries between working and just fun leisure activities, it actually helps me stay more creative and more excited about the work I'm doing. It's very important to have time for work and for clients, have time for your own business and your business growth, and then just having time for yourself to do things that bring you joy outside of work. So I'm gonna do a quick recap of those 6 boundaries. See if I'll do them in order. I'm not really sure. Number 1 is don't say yes to too many projects. Just take a look at how much you can handle, and it's okay to say no, or it's even okay to have a wait list. It's okay to, protect your own time in that way. Next is saying yes to everything, even projects that aren't interesting to you. It's totally okay to say no, because that will leave space for projects that do interest you. Next is avoiding scope creep. Just setting the boundaries on what your projects entail when you're actually working on your projects. It's okay to just gently nudge the client back to what you originally agreed upon, and stick to that, or come up with an additional fee for what they're asking. Another is avoiding extended timelines and having that start date and end date and any of those checkpoints just written out and communicated to your client so they know what to expect, and so you know what to expect. That way you're sticking to the time you agreed upon. Then there is saying no to negotiating prices. Stick to your prices. Stick to your prices. Stick to your prices. Lastly, just making sure you give time to rest, time to work on your client projects, and time to work on your business. That is all I have for you today. Thanks so much for watching. I have a few other videos that might be helpful for you, and they will come up next.